Dave Chappelle discussing the philosophical implications of COVID. Those of you who don't know, before we get started, I love Dave Chappelle. I know he is a problematic person. Who amongst us is not, though, of course? He is a complex individual. I love him. He has been very important in my development and upbringing. I think he's great overall, even though he does have some mid jokes as of late. But regardless, I still love him. I hope he doesn't turn around and say some really stupid shit today.
The vaccine, are you taking it?
I'll take it if it works. If I feel that the doctors have all gotten their opinions behind it and they think, you know what it is like an mRNA vaccine, this new vaccine. It makes your body think that it doesn't introduce actual COVID into your system and you fight it off. It makes your body think that it's COVID and your body builds the proper proteins.
The disgusting analogy used, I forget where I heard this, but the disgusting analogy is like, if the other vaccines would actually put like a fully grown virus in your body, this is like the dead toenail of COVID that goes into your body. Basically, it's like the toenail of a dead COVID cell. Yeah, it's disgusting, but you'll remember that forever now.
So what would you need? Would you need just the consensus of a body of doctors you trust?
And people's experiences, because people have already taken it. So if people have taken it, like, what is the experience? They say that they...
What do you mean? The experience is like, it's like fucking having a massive hangover. So does that mean you're not going to take it? Like, I don't understand. The Pfizer one, at least, is like, anecdotally, it's like the people that were in the trials said that it felt like having a massive hangover when you first take it.
Listen, if it works, we should take it. But I know how people get real nervous
Black
about that
people
kind
don't
of shit.
fuck with vaccines. I told you that, son.
How do you feel about
Dave,
it?
black people don't fuck with no vaccines, Dave.
Well, I mean, I feel like it's inconclusive because your caveat was, I'd take it if I felt safe about it.
Yeah.
Well, that's just the thing.
Don't you feel like that same way?
Well, of course, but you know, for the first time, we're learning how the process of a drug, you know, going through trials. We're learning this. Literally, as a nation, we're all watching this thing take place.
And an accelerated version of it.
An accelerated version of it.
Because usually a vaccine takes multiple years to develop. To be able to have something this quick and turn it around and
it's like
have
those
it be
movies
effective.
where they find a cure by the end and you're like, oh, that's bullshit. They're doing it.
Well,
not a cure, but a vaccine. It's a big deal.
The good thing is, if another one comes around, they're going to be more prepared to do something like this quicker. Even if they told you, even if you watch Bill Gates' speech at TED Talk in 2015, you would never internalize it and think there's a pandemic coming. Now we know.
Nobody.
Now we know there is. Now we're going to want to invest in the medical infrastructure to make sure that they prepare better.
Why is Joe Rogan the reasonable person on this panel? Joe Rogan should never be the reasonable person on a panel. Like, he's supposed to be the guy with the least pushback in almost every circumstance. Like, how do you out-conspiracy Joe Rogan? He literally always plays the other side of his guest. That's not even remotely true. The biggest strength that Rogan has as an interviewer is that he agrees almost nearly unconditionally with his guests, no matter how fucking psychotic they are. And only on a few instances, only on a few specific cases where you know Joe is going to fucking argue with you, does he ever take a stand. Weed, DMT, and like oftentimes in a lot of circumstances when someone is like very clearly so oblivious to like the experience of the working poor, Joe Rogan will bring his own personal experience to the equation and correct the record. Like, or hunting. Like, he is 100% outside of those things. He's always like, yeah. Like, I've heard Ben Shapiro on the Joe Rogan podcast literally talk about how you can't be an Orthodox Jew and homosexual at the same time. Like, you just can't. You should just, Orthodox Jews should hide that they're gay if they are gay. Like, and Joe Rogan's like, yeah, this is kind of crazy. Like, there are very few places that Joe Rogan won't let you go on his broadcast.
Some people are naturally averse to taking any kind of medication. They don't want to do it. And other people are like, if you tell me it's good and all the doctors agree and that it'll help mankind, I'll fucking do it. That's how I feel. Listen, polio, okay? Shit doesn't exist anymore. Smallpox doesn't exist anymore, at least not in the numbers that it used to,
Yeah,
right?
but you got the old vaccine for that. That's old vaccine.
Because of vaccines. Like, the idea that vaccines have done bad things only, or that they're dangerous only, it's crazy. Like, vaccines are responsible for the giant population.
This is nuts. Like, here's a guy who didn't used to believe the moon landing was real, changed his mind on it, but like here's a dude who has Alex Jones on his show. Like, he had Alex Jones on his show like fucking 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. Right now, he's like the reasonable person having a conversation about vaccines. God, Joe Rogan is such an interesting dude. He's the most interesting ape on the planet. I swear to God. 1 week he has that dude who's now on the fucking Joe Biden task force, okay? Before anyone else. He has like one of the leading epidemiologists in the country on his show to his massive audience before anyone else has him on. Warns about COVID, gets a lot of things right on the show. 8 months later, he's like doing Facebook mom. Yeah, Michael Osterholm, right? Is that how you say his last name? 8 months later, he's doing Facebook mom like COVID Karen memes on the timeline. And then 1 week, 2 weeks after he had Alex Jones on, he's like talking about the efficacy of vaccines and how important they are. It's just mind-boggling. You have to admit it's mind-boggling, okay? You say what you want. Joe always keeps an open mind, willing to listen to Alex Jones scream or Andrew Yang talk about UBI. Yeah, the problem is being too open-minded sometimes makes you look like a dupe. You get used by bad faith actors.
It touches something really sore in the core of an American's identity. Like you said, how can you tell me to do this?
Yeah, it's a weird one. It makes us redefine what it is to be a person. You know, like if all of a sudden you have other people that got elected into a position of power. That's all they did. They won a popularity contest, and they're dictating whether things go this way or that way. And they don't necessarily have the right answer. They just have their own answer. And Dallas is doing it different than this town, and Washington State's doing it different than Nevada.
To be fair, while Joe Rogan is having this conversation in the state of Texas is breaking records. They've passed 1 million COVID cases. There are parts of Texas like like El Paso that is just absolutely devastated by COVID. But number one, baby, we're fucking killing it, baby. Number one, hell yeah, brother. Whee! Everything's bigger in Texas, including COVID cases. So
I would have never expected that here we would be deep into November, and we're all still kind of locked down.
When this started, you lived in LA. You had no plans to come.
Man, there's no, like, who's locked down? Like, your state is literally not even locked down. That's the problem for the most part. The reason why we're still partially locked down is because we literally are just clinically predisposed to doing anything right. Like, we just, as Americans, as a whole, you tell an American to do something, they'll do the opposite. Like, it's so weird. I wish liberals were running around saying, like, we need to keep everything open. And only then would Republicans be like, fuck no, brother. I'm staying the fuck home. These goddamn liberals want me to die. They want me to die. They want me to get COVID. Want me to get that Chinese virus. I'm staying the fuck at home, brother. I don't need to leave my apartment to fuck my cousin. I'll stay and fuck my cousin right at home. Thank you very much.
Man, if you've got some real claims, now I don't know what the claims are. I haven't really honestly investigated them. But if you've got some real claims, you got to present the evidence. And then once you present the evidence, you say all the stuff like, I got robbed, I really want it. If you want to be in a position where you're respected,
right?
If you're the president of the United States, this isn't a regular guy. It's not like if you were involved in some ridiculous, like, small neighborhood election and you were joking around on Twitter, I won that fucking election.
Right.
That's to be expected. But when someone's in a position where they're in charge of the nuclear football, they literally are the commander-in-chief of the greatest army the world's ever known.
Firing motherfuckers.
And you're saying,
okay, I love that. No, this is great. Someone like Joseph Brogan hitting this is key. Like, him saying this is huge because what do I always say? The reason why I love watching Brogan is because he is a guy's guy, a dude's dude. It's International Men's Day. We got to celebrate it. And there's nothing better to do than listening to the fucking ultimate bro. He's the bro whisperer. He is more tapped into what, like, average hot couch guys think in the Midwest than any number of different videos that you can watch or MSNBC. This is good that, like, even the bro dudes are like, yeah, okay, like, this shit's crazy. Come on.
See, here's the thing, though. I don't know, and this is where it's really important. I don't know exactly how the election went down in terms of, like, was there like 0.01% fraud? Was there 0.5% fraud? How much fraud was there? We got to assume that when there's people counting stuff, there's some fuckery going on.
Yeah, but the fuckery that's been reported, it's been like still no more than like 40 people, bro.
I think this is what all these experts are saying. They're all saying that even if there was voter fraud, it wasn't enough to tilt the election one way or another. But I don't know how these machines work. So if I'm even commenting on it, if I'm saying they couldn't have done it, that's ridiculous. If I'm saying they must have done it, that's just as ridiculous. I really don't know.
Bro, come on, bro. There is no fucking, oh God, there is no centrism here. Like, you can fucking, like, you already mentioned how ridiculous it is because of how little voter fraud happens when you said it's a fraction of a percentage. Like, it's not significant. What the fuck? That's it. There's no both sidesing this shit, dude. Oh my God, these people will both sides like Nazism if it comes to that. I swear to God. Luckily, we're not there. Hopefully, we'll never get there. But I would not be surprised if fucking perpetual centrists would be like, oh well, I don't know. I mean, why can't we just execute like 50% of the non-white population? Like that's a good concession. I think both sides have some good ideas. We got to listen to both of them. Then why were the Democrats screaming that for 4 years? Come on, man. You're just justifying because your side won in air quotes. Man, what the fuck are you talking about? One, I was a person who was extremely critical of the Russiagate hysteria. Two, there's infinitely more evidence to foreign interference, or at least attempts at foreign interference, than there are with like fucking voter fraud as a whole, which is a common lie told by Republicans that literally never pans out, as it's not panning out this time around either. And three, Hillary Clinton conceded immediately the night after. Like, as soon as the election, Donald Trump won the election, Hillary Clinton conceded. Obama brought Donald Trump into the fucking White House. Like, there is no your side, my side in this circumstance, you fucking moron. There's no both sides in this situation. There's no both sidesing like flat earth. Stop thinking that your fucking idiotic point of view deserves any sort of fucking seriousness. This like pathetic little actual snowflake mentality of like, well, just because it's a thought I thought of, that means you have to take it seriously. No, the fuck we don't. You can't just like make some shit up and be like, well, you have to take it seriously now because it's a very special thought I thought of with my own very special personal brain. No, you don't get that. It doesn't work that way.
So what bothers me, and I do think that Biden won the election, and I do think that, I think there's probably some shenanigans, but I think the result is most likely correct. It bothers me that there's even a question. It bothers me that anyone would ever think that anyone could, but I think that there's Republicans that think Democrats could do it, and I think there's Democrats that think Republicans can do it.
I just don't understand. Voter fraud is not fucking frequent. The reason why voter fraud is infrequent is because it would have to be a grand conspiracy to be able to pull it off. It's not only fraudulent, but you get clapped and you go to fucking jail, which is precisely why it's so infrequent and it's so marginal that numerous studies over countless fucking years has found that there is not enough conclusive voter fraud to change the outcome of a single fucking election. A fact that Joe Rogan even mentioned early on in the broadcast when he said it's like, 5,000 people or some shit like that. Having said that, the real problem is election fraud, or the real problem is voter suppression, okay? And that, just like everything else in American society, is done very legally or extra legally in front of our fucking eyes. Like vote suppression, ID laws, closing down DMVs in black neighborhoods, polling stations being removed from black and brown neighborhoods or poor white neighborhoods. That's not voter fraud, but that's systemic elections fraud, and they do it all the fucking time. Poll tax in Florida after felon voter restoration was democratically voted on. That's actual fucking fraud. But it's not fraud because it's technically legal. You understand? Gerrymandering is redistricting. It's not technically voter fraud, but it is another way to undermine the will of the people. Yes, to have a more favorable result out of your elections. But I mean like directly fucking suppressing people's ability to go out and vote. Voter suppression is the real problem in this country.